Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, as you guys know, please smash the like button on this video. It really helps. It really helped me grow. So yeah, smash the like button on this video. As I do it anyway, I know I say it every video, but just make sure you go and smash the like button on this video. But yeah, but guys, before I get into the video, I want to respond to some comments. Reynald Powell, a guy that watches my video, at times has caused me bias. Before I actually get onto the topic that I actually want to discuss, I want to talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, the Andrade stuff. Like, obviously, I've already spoke about the Andrade stuff, but you know what the problem is in boxing, and there's a lot of sports I've seen like this. Is we boxing fans are a big problem. You know why? Because there seems to be a sectism in boxing where, you know, there's African American fans that support their fighters no matter what, through thick and thin. There's Mexican fans that support their fighters through thick and thin. And the problem is, even when their fighters do wrong, their fans don't call them out. They instead back them up and support them, which is okay. I don't have a problem with that. But when a fighter's wrong, and when I mean wrong for us, wrong for the boxing fans, wrong for the sport of boxing, they don't call them out. The problem is us boxing fans, because we're divided. Not me, because I like to think I'm a neutral boxing fan. I don't really have any kind of sides. The problem is people that support their own, in the sense where they're willing to defend their fighter from their background, even when they're wrong, even when it's bad for the sport of boxing. That's the problem in boxing. So Dmitry Andrade now, a lot of African American fans will be backing him and say, oh, well, he's Janibek's fought nobody. The irony of Dmitry Andrade fans saying that Janibek has fought nobody, when Dmitry Andrade, this is something that Canelo said about Dmitry Andrade, and the African American fans then jumped onto Canelo saying, well, Canelo is ducking Andrade, Canelo's ducking Andrade. But what you're saying about Janibek now is what Canelo said about Andrade. But then it's wrong when Canelo said it. Now, the Mexican fans, again, they're great fans, and Mexican fans have always been great. They support boxing. But a lot of Mexican fans as well come out and say, well, oh, Canelo wasn't right for the Bivol fight. You know, Canelo was this, Canelo was that, and look to make excuses for the Bivol defeat, because it hurts them that Canelo, who was their favorite, lost. Some people find it very difficult to accept, and that's not so much, that's just natural. That happens in the sport of boxing. But I'm talking, and if the fact that you thought, it's not good if you think Canelo won that fight, or that fight was close, because it wasn't, you know. And some of you pointed out Canelo never got beat up by Bivol. No, he didn't get beat up by Bivol, but he lost soundly. It was a comfortable win for Bivol. The point I'm trying to make is not so much the Canelo situation that I just brought up, but other situations. When there will be a Mexican fighter that's in the wrong, Mexican fans, majority of them, will probably back him, even when it's wrong. This is the problem with boxing, guys, that us fans, we're not one. See, African American fans and Mexican fans, we should all be one. Our goal should be all the same. You know what that goal should be? Is to ask for the best fights, irrespective of what race and what back. But we don't do that. We back our own. We're biased towards our own, and that's where the problem is. Us fans, boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, we don't work in unison. We don't work together. We're fighting amongst each other about this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy, just because they're from our background, rather than saying we want the best fights in boxing. So I understand the Dmitry Andrade situation, that Andrade's been avoided, and people say he's fought no champions. Okay, he's fought no champions, I get that. But he's also been avoided by certain champions as well. So we have to take that into consideration. But at the same time, now that Dmitry Andrade needs to fight Janibek, he doesn't want to do it. So I have a problem, because that's a dangerous fight for him. But then his fans come out, oh, well, Janibek's fought nobody. You know, he's not, what credibility does that bring Andrade? It's like there's excuses because they feel that he may lose. And this is the problem with boxing fans, that we're all here backing our own. We're not backing the sport. So when you guys say, oh, well, Imran, you should point out the fact that this is the problem of the sport. Well, us fans are the problem of the sport because we don't work in unison. We don't work together. We back race over the good of the sport. So how are we fans? How majority of fans are like this? Majority of fans are like this, that they back their own rather than backing the sport. So when people say, oh, well, you know, saying, oh, Imran, you're biased. I'm 100% not biased, because to me, I have no bias. Like, yeah, I have certain fighters that I like more than others. But if I'm not mistaken, wasn't I the same guy that came out and said that Bivol beat Canelo handedly? Yeah, apparently I like Canelo a lot. Yeah, but I also came out and said that Bivol beat Canelo handily after the fight, even though I predicted Canelo. My brother is also very neutral. He came out and said that Canelo will destroy Bivol. He'll beat Bivol easy. And then after the fight, he said, no, Bivol won that fight comfortably. Canelo was beaten. The point I'm trying to make is us fans need to work in unison. We need to understand that boxing needs us to work in unison and demand certain fights, and not defend our fighters when we're wrong just because they're from our background and we seem like we want to defend them. There's nothing to gain out of that. The sport is being hurt by fans like that aren't neutral, that back their own fighters even when they're in the wrong. So I don't care whether you're a Demetrius Andrade fan or whatever. You cannot justify him not fighting Janibek. Just like you can't, if Canelo did avoid Andrade, which you can't justify that. The only difference is Canelo fought a lot of good fighters. So he can avoid it. You can't say he avoided Andrade, but at the same time he fought Bivol. He's taking fights that he could potentially lose. And he did take a fight that he potentially could lose. And he lost. The difference is I haven't seen Andrade in a fight where he could lose. There's one fight now that people think may be a slippery slope, and a fight that I'm picking him to win, but a fight that I think is dangerous. And he's kind of not really wanting that fight. He's kind of avoiding that fight. This is the problem with boxing, guys, that we as fans, I don't think are doing the sport justice, because we should be one. And rather than being a Mexican fan or being an African-American fan supporting our own fighters, we should be behind supporting the sport of boxing and wanting the best fights to happen. Not supporting a particular fighter and pushing a certain narrative. Oh, well, he's being ducked, or, he's being ducked just when it suits your purpose. But then you use the same argument when it's not in favor of your fighter against the other fighter. That's what's wrong with the sport of boxing, in my opinion. I think the fans are equally as to blame as the promoters, because we're all doing the same thing. We're all doing the same thing. It's like English fans, for example. They'll make out Joe Calzaghe's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but then on the other hand, they'll say Mayweather was a runner, Mayweather ducked and did this and avoided. How can you criticize Mayweather when Mayweather's beaten like 10 Hall of Famers? And they'll say Mayweather waited for the right times to fight guys and he beat guys past the best. Joe Calzaghe never beat anybody in their prime. But yet they'll say the same thing about Mayweather. Like, anyone knows that Mayweather's a better fighter than Joe Calzaghe and achieves so much more. But there's people that I've had arguments with that think Joe Calzaghe's better than Mayweather. But this is what I mean. That's delusional and bias. Boxing fans are just biased. There's bias in them. And not just that, sport fans are just biased. They can't speak the truth. And that's what really irritates me about sport and arguing with people, because I'm a neutral. I don't really have an alliance to anybody. I'll just say it how it is. And that's what's frustrating to me, because I don't feel a lot of fans are like that. They're not neutral. They're biased. And that's what irritates me and pees me off. But here, Tony Bellew has made some comments. He says that Canelo Alvarez, at his best and at his A game, will beat Dmitry Bivol. Again, I don't know how he can say that so confidently, but he says, speaking about Canelo on DAZN, Tony Bellew said, must do better. Some will say that the matches he's making, you want to set the standard so high, you've got to maintain it and stay there. He's amazing. He's still up there pound for pound. Everyone took him out of the pound for pound list when he lost to Bivol. Absolutely not. He remains right up there for me. But there's some things he has to do better. If he's on his A game that night, he fights Bivol, I think he beats Bivol. He wasn't on his A game. He's got to do better. Now, he didn't really say what Canelo has to do to win. He just said Canelo has to be on his A game. Tony Bellew. I don't know whether Tony Bellew works for DAZN. I don't know whether it's a case where Tony Bellew is backing Canelo. But having said that, Bivol's a DAZN fighter, or he's with Matchroom as well. I don't see what Canelo can do different, because Tony Bellew didn't really mention what he needs to do different. He just said that if he's on his A game. But what can he do different? I don't know, understand. Like, I've already said what I think he should do. I don't know if it works. Canelo Alvarez, you guys pointed out that he was gassed. Yeah, some of you pointed out the only reason Canelo lost is because he was gassed. Yeah, Bivol made him gassed because Canelo moved up to 175, right? And he was too heavy. He's going to be gassed. That's why he shouldn't be fighting at 175. So that's going to happen again because his body structure isn't a 175 body structure. He's going to get gassed again. But his fighting style, Canelo is like a bully. And what I mean by that, he's like a bull, right? Or he's been fighting like that for a last year or year and a half. Canelo can't beat Dmitry Bivol like that. He can't walk Bivol down and beat him like that. Bivol's too big and too strong for that. Canelo needs to beat Bivol through boxing, throwing more punches, outboxing Bivol. But how does he do that? Bivol's longer, taller. He's also a very good boxer. Some may say he's a better boxer than Canelo. And he's longer and he's got a lot more physical advantages. How does he win? It's a tough fight. Tough fight. Personally, I wouldn't pick Canelo to win the rematch. I can see a way how he wins it. But then having said that, Tony Bellew also said, if people thought Bivol was going to beat... I know people saying now that Bivol was always going to beat Canelo. That's rubbish, because I told you guys that Canelo was going to beat Bivol. My brother, who says it how it is, thought Canelo was going to beat Bivol and couldn't see how Bivol wins. Because Bivol had just looked poor to me. Bivol hadn't looked good. I was like, how's he going to beat Canelo? He's looked average against all those guys. But Bivol there's a saying that he fights to the level of his opponents. And Bivol basically was that. Bivol fought to the level of his opponents. But Bivol has proven that he is top class. And stylistically, he's very wrong. He's wrong for Canelo. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. Canelo is moving up to a weight class, fighting a very skilled, bigger man. It's not easy to do. It's very difficult to do, beat someone like that. So I don't know, even if I think Canelo has good stamina, Canelo has everything in his favor, I still don't know whether he can beat this guy, because this guy is very good. He's very good. And this is what a lot of people got to understand, that this guy is not your run-of-the-mill fighter. He's an elite fighter. So, personally, I don't know. I don't know where Tony Bellew feels that if he's on his A game, he'll win. I don't see how someone can be so confident after what they saw the first time. I don't even think the hardcore Canelo fans are confident after seeing what they saw first time. You can't be. There's no one on this planet that can be confident Canelo wins the rematch. Soundly, like saying that if he's on his A game. What's Canelo's A game? Because if we go off what he's done in the Callum Smith, Caleb Plant and Billy Joe fight, he did exactly the same thing against Bivol. It didn't work. Now, some of you say that he needs to do what he did against Jacobs. But can he do that at 175? It's a different weight class. He needs to put on more muscle. Can he carry that muscle? Has he got the stamina to fight at that pace that he needs to? This is what a lot of people don't understand. It's not easy to fight at 175 for Canelo. He's undersized. He's not a big guy. I don't know if he can beat this guy. Even if he's on his A game, I don't know. And that's why I want to see the rematch, to see if he can make the correct adjustments to win. I hope he can, because if Canelo loses again, it's not the end of the world, because he'll just come back down to 168, and there's a lot of fights to be made at 168. But I don't know if he can beat this guy. And that's what makes the rematch very interesting for me, because Canelo will probably go into the rematch as a massive underdog, as a outsider, and you don't really get Canelo going into a fight as an outsider, but he would in the rematch because of the way he was beaten. He was beaten soundly. I know people say, well, no, Bivol, Canelo could have won if he didn't run out of steam. No, he ran out of steam because of what Bivol was doing and the fact that Canelo's not a 175 fighter. He didn't look great against Kovalev either. Kovalev just was past his best and he ran out of steam. So this is what I'm trying to say. I'm finding it difficult how Canelo wins. He can win. You can never write Canelo off, but it's difficult. Like for Tony Bellew to be so confident that Dmitry Bivol, if Canelo's at his best, he's going to win. What can Canelo do? You guys tell me. Some of you guys have a great boxing IQ. Some of you guys have great boxing knowledge. Tell me what you think Canelo needs to do to beat this guy. Tell me. Because I can't think of a concrete game plan that gets him through. You guys tell me what he needs to do. In the comment section, tell me what Canelo needs to do to beat Bivol. And we'll end it on that. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.